Hi, my name's Andy Sykes. I'm an illustrator and animator, and I teach animation at universities here in the UK. Why not check out my website, hexjibber.com, where you can find animation and illustration by me, as well as more lessons in Flash and After Effects. Cheers! Hi, and welcome to my tutorial on adjustment layers in After Effects. So hopefully you will have seen my After Effects basic tutorial so you can understand what I'm doing. Let's just have a look at a little example of adjustment layers in action. You can see that we've got two fishes swimming across the screen with an effect called turbulent displace, which is what's making them look like they're underwater, and also a blue tint over the whole animation. And all those effects are on this adjustment layer here. If we have a look at the effects controls, we can see we've got turbulent displace, we've got color balance, and we've got Gaussian blur. An adjustment layer affects all the layers that are beneath it. So if you've ever used them in Photoshop, you should be familiar with them. And they're a way of really quickly applying the same effects to all the layers in a composition. So let's have a go at creating our own. We've got 3 bits of footage. We've got 2 fish and we've got a sea background, all of which are photos that I took at an aquarium that I visited. And you can find them in a zip file in the description underneath this video on YouTube. So I've got a fresh new composition here. It's 720p with a white background. First thing I'm going to do is drag in this aquarium background. I'm going to hit S for scale to shrink it down a little bit so that it fits our composition. Next up, I'm going to drag my fish in. I'm going to make them a bit smaller by pressing S. That's one fish. So the second one, I'm going to press S. Adjust the value a little bit there. So there we go. I might lock this background layer so I don't accidentally move it. I'm going to select both my fish layers and press P and click on the stopwatch for the first fish, which will actually select both of the stopwatches that we've got selected in both of our layers. There we go. I'm going to move through time. I'm going to move both of my fish over to the other side of the screen. So we've now got an animation that looks like this. Got both of our fish moving across the screen like so. So next up, we need to create an adjustment layer, which you can do either by right-clicking here and going New Adjustment Layer, or you can go to the Layer menu at the top and go New Adjustment Layer. So that's called Adjustment Layer 2, because Adjustment Layer 1 is in my example. And the first thing we're going to do is add that turbulent displace. I'm going to type in turbulent. So we've got turbulent displace here. And that sort of warps the image a bit like it was underwater. We don't want to drag the effect up here in case After Effects gets confused and thinks that we want to apply it to the background or one of our fish. So let's drag it onto the adjustment layer in the composition panel. And you can see the image suddenly changes. And our fish are kind of warping. Like so. I think to get the full benefit of this effect, it's a good idea to keyframe the evolution. So that's how the distortion changes over time. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to go to the beginning of our animation, hit the stopwatch next to the evolution, move through time to the end, and we're going to tell it to evolve once. So this is just like the rotation parameter on the layers in After Effects. So now when we play it through, that distortion is constantly changing. At the moment, I think it's distorting a little bit too much. So I'm going to turn down the size of the distortion and the amount so it's a little bit more subtle. I think that's probably too subtle now. Let's bump it up a little bit. So we can see we've got a nice kind of underwater style distortion that's evolving as the animation moves along. Next up, I think we want to put a blue tint. So I'm going to type in blue, and you can see there's a colorized preset that's called blue wash. So I'm going to drag that onto the adjustment layer as well. And that's going to make things look much more like they're underwater by giving them a blue hint. You could create a color balance and a color HLS yourself, but I'm just using a preset to make things a bit quicker. And finally, we want to add a Gaussian blur. So I'm going to type in Gauss, just drag that Gaussian blur onto my adjustment layer. And we don't need to animate the blur, we just need to bump it up a little bit so that it looks a little bit more underwatery. So now, when we play the animation through, all of those effects that we put on the adjustment layer have been applied to all of the layers underneath. So we didn't need to laboriously go through and copy and paste all the different effects onto the fish small layer and the fish small 2 layer and the background. So adjustment layers are a really quick and easy way of applying effects to multiple layers at a time. So have a go with adjustment layers yourself, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Hey, thanks for checking out this tutorial. Next up, why not take a look at my website, hexjibber.com, where you can find out more about my self-published books, the Hexjibber Colouring and Activity book and the Hexjibber Anti-Revision book. They're both suitable for kids and adults alike and are well worth checking out.